Now, if you've never been there, praise the Lord for that. But sometimes Christians are under such pressure, they just go, I don't know if it's worth it. That's one temptation. But that's an extreme example, of course, isn't it? Now, for those of you who say, well, I'd never even contemplate that. Great. Well, the second temptation might be to compromise the faith. You say, I'd never reject Jesus, but I'd want to sort of trim my sail to the prevailing wind. I'll just do what needs to be done to get along. That's a temptation, isn't it? It's always been a temptation. The Bible talks about this, doesn't it? About God's people in the Old Testament. They didn't always outright reject the God of the Bible, of Yahweh. They would sometimes say, yeah, we still believe in Yahweh, but we also want to have a bit of Baal and a bit of Ashtaroth and a little bit of the gods around us as well. We'll have a little bit of mix and match, a little bit of both and. But compromise, that's another temptation. And the other one is to hide our faith. To hide, which is similar to compromise, but it's a little bit different, isn't it? It's the hunker down, hope nobody notices you're a Christian, and get by thing. Can you relate to that? It's a temptation, isn't it? Just for an easier life. And I think if verse 13, the salt of the earth, is about compromise, verse 14 about being light is about not hiding. Let me explain there the salt of the earth in verse 13, which we won't spend much time on, but Jesus says there, you're the salt of the earth, but if salt has lost its taste, how shall its saltiness be restored? And I really don't want to talk too much about salt, but the point about salt is it's a preservative, isn't it? We've heard this before, I'm sure. You don't have refrigeration back in the day, and meat's going to go off, isn't it? So you put some salt on it to preserve it. But it has to be salty salt. And that's because the salt at that time would have contained impurities and so on. And it wouldn't have been pure sea salt. It would have been a different kind of salt. But it could have got adulterated and then it wouldn't be any use. That's about compromise. Salt's got to retain its saltiness, uncompromising. But light, look what Jesus says about the light in verse 14. You're the light of the world. A city on a hill cannot be hidden. People don't light a lamp and then put it under a basket. But you put it on a stand so it gives light to all in the house. In other words, light is to be seen, not hidden away. Not hidden under that basket. So what Jesus is saying is, don't hide your light. Don't hide your light. That's the message. You see also that Jesus says here in verse 14, look at these words, very simple words. You are the light of the world. What doesn't it say? It doesn't say you are the light of the church. It says you're the light of the world. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. Yeah, but not just in the church, in the chapel. It's got to shine wherever we go, hasn't it? That's one of the things. It's saying light. We're the light. We've been made the light of the world. It's to go out and shine everywhere. So that's what we're called to. Now, I would say that there are probably two reasons we'd want to hide our light. Two main ones. Or maybe flip it around to say there are two ways, two things we can remember to stop us from going down this path of hiding our light. The reason we hide our faith, and I've intimated already, the reason we hide our faith, and if in my heart is anything to go by, I'm probably not unique in this, we're fearful. Fear. Jesus talks about fear a lot. It's common to all of us, isn't it? Who's never been fearful in their life? Do you know somebody? I don't know if I do. People put a brave face on things and people can pretend they're not fearful, but we've all experienced fear. That's a common human thing. We're fearful of what people will say. We're fearful of the opinions of others. We're fearful of what they might do to us. We're fearful of things we can't control. But there are two things I would say that we need to remember that can counteract this so that we will not hide our faith. I think one of them, and they're both in Jesus' words that come later up in Matthew's Gospel. In Matthew's Gospel, chapter 10, Jesus puts together these two things. In chapter 10, verses 29 and 30, he says, are not two sparrows sold for a penny? And not one of them will fall to the ground apart from your Father. What's he saying there? Is Jesus really that bothered about the sparrows per se? Not really, although God cares for everything. But he says, even the fall of a sparrow to the ground is known by God. We could say even the leaf that falls in autumn time, even the buds that fall, or the flower that will fall in the springtime, every single petal is known by God. Where it lands, everything that happens. In other words, God has such a meticulous and absolute, minute control of everything that's what we mean by the sovereignty of God. God is so in control of everything. Your life, everything that happens, the falling of a sparrow, and every event in your life. That's number one. God is so sovereign, he knows everything. He knows everything that's happened in my life. He knows everything that's happening now in your life, and he knows everything that will happen in the future. Not only knows it, he's ordained it from before the creation of the universe. That's the picture the Bible presents of God. God isn't some little God that just reacts to things. God is in control, utterly in control. You're not, I'm not, he is. Now that is not enough in itself, but it's a major big plank in it. But Jesus then goes on, and then he says in verse, not one of them will fall to the ground apart from your Father, verse 30, this is Matthew 10, but even the hairs of your head are all numbered. Fear not, therefore, you are of more value than many sparrows. If we look at the Bible's teaching as a whole, we who are believers in Jesus Christ are beloved of God. We are so loved by God. And which God is this? The God I've just talked about. The God who is in control of all things is a God who loves us so much that he gave his own son for us. He gave up his own son for you, the church. That's how much he loves you. Can you see that? Can you see where I'm going with this? Am I going to have my light shine? Well, I might not because I'm fearful. But how do I stop the fear if I can remember these two things? God is utterly in control, and he loves me so much that he gave his own son. If I can get hold of that, whatever tomorrow brings, whatever today is bringing even, God is utterly in control, and he loves me so much he gave me his son. Of what should I be afraid? Now, therefore, I need to let my light shine. That's the argument I'm making. That's the argument I'm making. Jesus says, let your light shine before others. Let your light shine before others. Brothers and sisters, I know it's a challenge. It's easy to say it, but to actually live it out. And let me just say this as well. And this is something I've been reflecting on for a number of months and years possibly. That when it comes to shining the light, Jesus says in verse 16, in the same way, let your light shine before others. That is unbelievers as well. No, it's not just unbelievers, but it's certainly unbelievers. So that, now what is your light? It is verse 16. It says it is so that they may see your good works. That's what your light is, your good works. And then they will give glory to the Father who is in heaven. So Jesus is calling us, the church, to so live our lives before others that they see our good works and they say, wow, God must be amazing. Doesn't mean they'll necessarily come to faith. This isn't a how-to, like if I live in a certain way, all the unbelievers who see me are going to come to faith. That isn't what is being said. I don't think so. I don't think we can call that a promise of God. Who is saved is down to God. We've got a responsibility, and God will do his stuff too. But where are we doing this shining? It's in front of unbelievers. Where are unbelievers? Well, largely they're not in here. Now, there may be unbelievers come and visit the church, but that's not what I mean. By and large, we're called, as we're sent out on a Sunday, to go out into our place of work and our families and everything we're doing on a Monday to shine before a watching world. And the one thing that I feel that we need to do as Christians in this country and anywhere else is to let our Christian faith inform what we do, not just on a Sunday, but Monday to Saturday, in everything we do, And I wonder how things might change if that were the case. Now, some people might take exception to this, but and Christians are doing this to different degrees, so Liam, don't get me wrong, some Christians are doing this fantastically. I think sometimes we're hiding our Christian faith, and it's not having an impact on where we work, or the company we run, or amongst our family, or in the community, and all the things that we're doing, running the clubs that we're running, or whatever it is we're doing. See, God sees everything. God is wanting us to live our lives before him 24/7, every moment of the day. Whether we're building fences, nursing, looking after old people, looking after the kids, teaching, learning, whatever we're doing, everything we're doing is to be lived before the Lord and letting that light shine before others. And it is about doing it before God. You see, it says here, it's interesting, it says, let your light shine before others. It's not, I'm letting my light shine so that people think I'm a great person. There should be a way that we're behaving in which they don't say what a great person you are, but they say, wow, and give glory to the Father. So there's something about that, isn't it? It's not me saying, look at how good I am. It's about me saying that the way we are in the world will be such that we are going to be pointing in our way that we live and even with our words to God and giving that he gets the glory. And that's really important, because if you've read Matthew's gospel and if you know your Bible well, you might well look at Matthew 5 and say, hang on a minute, letting our light shine before others, how does that fit with what Jesus says when he has a go at the Pharisees in chapter 6? You remember what he says to the Pharisees? He says to the Pharisees, to the disciples about the Pharisees, chapter 6, verse 1, beware of practicing your righteousness before other people in order to be seen by them. So somehow we've got to not be doing our works of righteousness to be seen by others, but letting our light shine so that people see our good deeds and give glory to the Father. It's about our motivation, and it's about who gets the glory and the praise for what we do. And that's we've got to work out for ourselves, really, in a way. But ultimately, I think it is about a stance of humility that says, hey, it's God who's done the work in me. That's the ultimate stance. Well, that's a little bit of a little whistle-stop tour on the light and being the light of the world. I would just encourage you to consider, what might that look like for you? How might your light shine wherever God has placed you, wherever you are, and whatever you're doing? And please don't say, well, I'm not really doing anything. There is no such thing as part-time, full-time Christians, or part-time or full-time ministry. I know we talk about being in Christian ministry, but actually everybody is in full-time ministry. Did you know that? As a Christian, you're called by Jesus Christ, you're a full-time minister to him. You're called to serve the Lord and serve others. Not part-time. What are you going to do the rest of your time? We're called to live the whole of our life serving the Lord, serving others, and living out that life, letting our light shine before others. So much more that can be said about it, but time presses on, so we must go on. So let me tell you about our brothers here. There's always something remarkable when I meet our partners in these countries I go to. This fellow here, who came to faith just after a Billy Graham crusade in Moscow in 1992. Remember, he's growing up in the old Soviet Union. He had no intention of going there. It's a bit of a long story, but through this guy, where this guy lived in this part of Uzbekistan, no Christians in his town, no Christians in his region, and I don't even know there are any within a massive radius of hundreds of miles around him. No Christians at all. And yet through his ministry, he was an arm wrestler. That's what he was into. He built a gym, and he trained actually a world champion arm wrestler, female arm wrestler. So yeah, here we go. The lady at the top there on the left, she became a world champion that he trained. He built this gym. He welded all the stuff together, made it all himself, quite amazing. But he had, long story, he had a vision of a man coming to him, basically it was a vision of Jesus in the end, and he came to faith. And then what he's decided to do was, I'm going to start to tell people about Jesus who come and train under me in the gym. He wants his light to shine. And that is indeed what happened. But